Welcome, everyone. It is season 2, episode 2 of Not In, All In, the show where we just say whatever sort of comes to our mind based on the sports news of the day. I'm Kirk Buchner along with Chris Mouradian and Longhorn Dave Whitlock. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. Nice and warm here.
Is it? I mean, in Wisconsin, I
Yeah.
No,
I
no,
detect
we're
I detect a hint of sarcasm. Yeah,
yeah.
doing well. Good on some Astros getting in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Bad on the Texans flopping yet again in the playoffs. So it's about right for Houston.
but was there somebody in from the state of Texas who was your sportsman of the week? I guess we got two because we haven't talked about those.
Yeah, so of course, missed last week, but yeah, the Sportsman of the Week this week, unfortunately, is one of the undoings of the Texans. With Carlton Davis the third, had two interceptions. Some were easier than others, the way they were thrown. But decided to go for a defensive player. There wasn't a lot of offensive explosions. This week it was more or less defensive games. If you look at actually the Patriots against the Texans, I mean, it's pretty even on the offensive side, and nobody else really stood out. So yeah, went that direction. So the let's see, the week before was Demarcus Robinson from the 49ers. They're out now, but he had that bust through performance. So trying to pick some good playoffs here. Next week we'll have to see. I'll be on vacation the week after that, so I may or may not be able to get one out next week. But anyway, you can Sportsman of the Week, been going since 2012. So I invite you to look at it at www.lhd-on-sports.com. Every week there's somebody.
All right, sounds good. Well, just a few hours ago, as we're recording this on January 20th, the Baseball Hall of Fame has made their announcement. Dave, it's a place you know very well. I think you've been there, God, well, a lot more times than Manny Ramirez will,
Oh yeah, or a Rod.
or Omar Vizquel. My God, stop the bleeding there. But congratulations are afloat for Carlos Beltran and Andruw Jones. I think if we would have made a prediction as to who was going to get in this year, the tea leaves all said Beltran and Jones. With Carlos, I think he was a fringe first ballot player, but a lot of the powers that be said, no, 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 you have to wait. You were bad. You are the one who decided to teach everyone how to bang the drum quickly.
Quickly got it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Tip your waitress. Beltran does deserve to be here. I'm happy for him. I can see why some of the voters decided that he had to wait. It was illegal what he did, but if it's baseball, what's not illegal? And we're going to be talking about a lot of illegal things as we go down this list.
Yeah, I guess we found the limit to what the baseball writers will allow in as far as illegality. You do PEDs and improve your personal stats. Nope. You do some team building and help a team win a championship. You got to wait 4 years, but you're in.
Well, it was team building because I mean, at that point in his career, that's pretty much all he could do.
Yeah, at that point of his career, his Hall of Fame credentials had already been cashed, so he was
Well,
there already.
it did cost him not just this. I mean, like financially, I don't know what difference that really made, but it did cost him that manager's job in New York. Which I'm trying to think, is Beltran coaching anywhere right now? I
I mean,
don't.
he was doing broadcasting for Yes, I thought, last I checked. Some spot broadcasting for the Yankees side
Mhm.
uh, of Yes.
Or did they announce though that he's going to be the head coach? Is he the head coach of Puerto Rico for the World Baseball Classic? I think I
That
caught
is
that.
yes.
Yeah. All right. So he's doing that. We'll see how that does. By the way, gentlemen, along with some other baseball people that I've introduced you to, I think we want to do a World Baseball Classic preview. I'm pretty stoked for it, especially with Team USA loading up, and it's about goddamn time.
Yeah, it's been fun to see all the opt-ins this time. It's kind of going the other way of some of the other sports. I think I'd like to think that maybe the Four Nations hockey really inspired people. Some of the elite players that you could really up your game, get more notoriety, entertain fans. Really I don't know if they get paid pennies on the dollar, not their day job. But it is exciting, and I'll be going to all the games in Houston, at least most of them. So I'm looking
Okay,
forward to
cool.
that. Team USA's here, so
Nice. Who might you be seeing? Because I haven't
see
looked at the
Italy,
practice.
Great Britain. So U.S. and Mexico are the two main ones. Italy, Great Britain, and Brazil, I think, are the other teams.
Okay, so when it's Italy, so you're going to be seeing the United States versus the United States.
With Italian last names. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. God damn it. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. Where's Israel? That's the other one I hate. My God.
I don't know what pool they ended up in.
Can you imagine if there's going to be somebody protesting the Free Palestine people to a team Israel for a bunch of players who probably have never been to Israel?
Very possible. I know.
Oh God. But
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. Beltran's in. I'm happy that he's in. Do we have a reaction as to, was 4 years enough for him to have to wait, or was this stupid? He should have been in right away.
Yeah, I'll start being the person in Houston. So with him and Kent getting in, that doubles the 2004 Astros team that's in, joining Biggio and Bagwell. So good representation. They also had Clemens and Pettitte on that team. So pretty stacked team that didn't quite make it. Big part of it was Beltran's postseason that in 2004, 8 home runs and 5 straight games. Didn't even make the World Series, and a lot of his records stood for a long time in terms of a single postseason. Yeah, I think you touched on it. It's probably a borderline only in that he didn't, have these days to be a first ballot. Seemingly, you have to have these bust out the stats, over 3,000 hits or 500 home runs, bat 300, that type of thing. And he kind of touched a lot of stats. His speed was probably underrated. Didn't get on base as much as some other guys like a Bobby Abreu, who I would have voted for. But the power, the speed, his defense, Gold Gloves, center field. You start to put all those things together, and he's usually on a list of 3 or 4 folks that did certain things. Was 4 years enough? A lot of us here in Houston, feel like the only reason the Astros were fingered was because you had one guy that decided to sing like a canary, and all the teams were doing it. When Beltran came to town, he was, I don't want to say surprised, but use words like, "I can't believe how far behind the times you guys are at this. Like everybody else is doing it." And he showed them how. That's the problem. Watch some of the Hall of Fame pregame show or preview show, and he denied it at first, which probably wasn't the right thing to do. You probably just shut up and say, I'm gonna let the story tell itself or something. But so a little bit of a stain there. I think 4 years is probably about 1 or 2 years too much. I think some voters last couple of years we did have some stacked ballots. There still was a lot of PED guys, creating some traffic there. We'll probably get to it later, but there's a lot of boosts in votes this year of seemingly guys that were down ballot guys collecting a few votes because of the cleared thing. So I think good that he gets in. I think Chris makes a good point. Maybe he'll expand upon what he did really could have affected an entire postseason and 52 guys, whereas one person hitting a few more home runs with PEDs. That's just on him, which is worse. Judge for yourself, but certainly glad he got in for a lot of reasons here.
Yeah, like I said, his Hall of Fame bona fides were already there, but before this even happened. I just wonder, if Houston didn't win that World Series, does this even come out, or does it come out next year, or does another team like Boston or whoever else was implicated in this end up being the ones that take the fall? But at the end of the day, it did kind of it obviously held him up. I don't know that he had been a first ballot guy. He might have been like just on the cusp, I think, but at 2 ballots, I think would have got him in there without this kind of hanging over him. As far as the impact on it, I think because it did they did win the World Series. That's the reason I think it had the impact it did, as opposed to some of these other potential situations here where if they didn't win, he still got the Hall of Fame numbers. Nothing changes. He probably walks in, like I say, in the second ballot. And my comparison to the PED guys and where the baseball writers seem to be drawing the line here. It's just kind of a observation based on the fact that you have players with video game numbers in some cases, the Bonds, the Clemens, that A-Rods that are just going to end up on the sidelines, whereas where the baseball writers have taken a firm stance of just saying no, no, no. And then you have a situation here where a championship may have been won that maybe they didn't win because of it, and it just takes a couple of years of penance there before he gets his due there. It's interesting. It's just kind of one of those, like I said, just one of those things that I noticed and kind of wonder if there, what else is going on with this. If there's collusion behind the scenes with some of the voters. We clearly have some that feel that the PED guys are, no problem, let them in, and others that are just completely hardline. There's far more hardliners than there are the ones that are willing to look the other way. Still wonder about the 15 that voted for Ryan Braun, but it's a topic for another show, I guess.
It's a topic for this show. If we're gonna get to him.
Well, okay, it's a topic for later in the show.
Yeah. Right now, Evan, our friend Evan Nolan, he's just having a field day at this one. Evan doesn't get angry much, but Ryan Braun really grinds his gears. But we'll get more to that one. So congrats to Carlos Beltran, and he is not alone. Curacao has now got their first representative, and I just learned this today during watching the show. The Hall of Fame show, that I guess he's the manager of the Team Netherlands. And there's a lot of people learning for the first time that, wait a minute, Curacao is part of the Netherlands? Well, technically, sure. It's like if Denmark fields a hockey team and they're all from Greenland. Wait a minute. That's going to be American soon. Never mind.
That's a different show.
That's another show. I hate goddamn. But Andruw Jones is in on ballot number 9, and it was a long haul to get here. He was under 10% on his first 2 years. And we'll see some other people, like when you start low, sometimes that's where you stay. But Jones kept building and building and building. I personally am very, very happy he's in. I like Andruw a lot. Yes, he's got a lowish batting average, but my God, great fielder, great arm, did get on base a lot, power. I think he should have been in a long time ago. I thought it was disgusting when he only got under 10%. Actually, I believe when I had the chance to talk to the head of Sports Reference, that was his big pet peeve. Because he that's the guy he wanted more than anyone, was Andruw Jones.
Yeah, I'll start here with Mr. Jones. Counting Crows? Nobody? Okay.
Sorry.
I actually came around on him. I wasn't in on him when he first kind of hit the ballot. I kind of looked at him and saw the low batting average, the high power numbers, and thought, it's kind of just a little inflated here. He had a good career, but didn't really kind of raise up to Hall of Fame levels. And then I kind of started getting more into understanding the defensive side, especially the up the middle defense. The catcher, shortstop, center fielder being kind of the key defense positions in baseball, and the Gold Gloves and the amount of games he impacted because of his defense. And I started to come around him in the last couple of years. 3-4 years, he was kind of, when we did our full ballots here, he was one of the guys I was checking the box for. So maybe he waited a little bit longer than he should have. Kind of in my mind, I had to come around on him, but in the end I did, and I kind of came around on him, like I said, a few years ago. So 4 or 5 years maybe would have been a better track for him than having to wait 9. But at the end of the day, they got it right, I think, on this one here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly the same as Chris. When I put out my annual blog, I didn't typically check his box maybe last 2, 3, 4 years. As you start to get to the second half of your 10-year candidacy, at least I like to really start to say, put them on one side or the other, and I am more likely to move on than off. Kind of once you're on, I don't really move you off. And so looked at it, yeah, the power numbers, especially the defense, always it was him and Griffey were the best two defensive players. Always felt like he was better. Griffey got a little bit more pub for some of the highlight reels, but consistency. Again, watching the pre-selection show, I mean, there were segments after segments of just highlight reel catches that any other center fielder, if they made one of those catches in their life, that would have been their best catch, and he had dozens of them. And talking about a team that was based on pitching, that relied on defense. And I think it helps that he came up at age 19 and made an instant impact in the playoffs. So his name instantly moved up. You look at some other guys that may have toiled not on playoff teams or not headliners that didn't get the consideration. So I think maybe, Fred McGriff getting in a few years ago, might have kind of greased the skids a little bit. Here's another huge home run guy, near 500 home runs, low batting average, but made an impact, postseason impact, all that stuff. So add it all up, and certainly glad he got in. I think I think Kirk, you alluded to it. That's been my 8th or 9th trip to Cooperstown this year, and a class of 3 is a good, healthy class. Never been for a class of 1, but I think I was there for a class of 2, maybe McGriff and Rowland year, and it was really, they were almost just begging people. I didn't pay any money, and they're trying to throw tickets at us to get up in the front section to fill it up because people just weren't interested in a couple of those. And I was there the year Ortiz got in with about 6 other guys, Jim Kotz, Benny Minosa, guys like that. But Fowler, that it's a deep ballot, and the speeches kind of go on and on, but you enjoy it. So a good, healthy class of 3 this year of contemporary players, and I think so I was very glad to see Andruw Jones in for all those reasons.
Well, so from here we go to the people who did not make the cut, and I guess something that's not talked about enough, or I think maybe people don't really look at, is when you get on the ballot. If you look year to year to year at some of the ballots that have existed, when you get on, it can be really hard to be one of those 10 people to get through. And I look at the person who finished the highest without getting in, Chase Utley, 59.1% on ballot number 3. Utley had a very, very good jump, almost 20%, because he was 39.8 last year. Is he better than Lou Whitaker, who was one and done?
No, not in my opinion.
I would agree with that. Dave,
I agree too. Yeah.
So here we have somebody on, it's the right ballot for a lot of these guys who are just rocketing up. And next year, I was going to save this for later, but there's only one real big name, and that's Buster Posey. Is Buster Posey a first ballot Hall of Famer? Personally, I don't think so. But on the next ballot, he very well could be.
Yeah, great point. He had an MVP season in there. He played a premium position. But I just don't know that he, even kind of comparing him to Joe Mauer, I just don't know if the bona fides are there. But as you mentioned, I think there's him and John Lester that's joining the ballot next year that are really the only 2 that have that kind of stand out from that group that's eligible first time.
Well, Tubbs, our friend Tubbs, he tweeted to me. He thinks that it's going to be. He thinks Posey is getting in first ballot, and Utley's going to join him. And so, like, my response was, and I guess I had my get off my lawn moment. Yeah, I know about sabermetrics, but come on, Utley getting in 4th year doesn't. And Jim Rice had to wait 15. But anyway, but there's just something to that, and the timing is there. I don't necessarily have a problem with Chase Utley being in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't have a problem with it at all. It's just based on patterns we've had. Him getting in this quick based on some others who haven't. And that's sort of why I had to bring in why other people have fallen off the way they did. I mean, we just saw Carlos Delgado do very, very well on his first senior ballot. despite also being a one and done. And then when you look at the ballot he was on, yeah, of course he had no shot in hell of not being one and done. It was just way too loaded, way too clogged, and with a lot of people who that they eventually wanted to get rid of. And they are, bit by bit by bit. I don't know. Is there anything more that we want to say about Chase? Because the next one in order of finish, I wouldn't have pegged this in a million years.
One more thing I'd like to just add on Chase. I'm kind of with you that I don't necessarily believe that he doesn't belong. I just feel that he's kind of jumped the queue here on players that got overlooked way too fast. And I'd feel better about him if he was going in after a Lou Whitaker, after a Bobby Grich. Jeff Kent was another one that I kind of thought deserved the honors before him. But, I think you're right. It's likely next year for him, but, we'll see.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When they inducted Kent, or when he was chosen, I believe some of the writers still probably haven't submitted their ballots yet. I mean, maybe if you're looking there and you say, okay, well, Kent's in, that sort of clears maybe a path for an Utley. And I wonder if, like, down the road, does this sort of like help Lou Whitaker? If Utley gets in, it has to, right?
Yeah, that was the subject of a lot of the discussion on the pregame show. Is if this guy, then that guy, and it's interesting that they have some of the major sports writers that you see on MLB Network and some of the major publications, and of course Bob Costas, who's a senior, big fan. I'm a big fan of his in this environment, but okay, if Utley, why not Whitaker? If Trammell, why not Whitaker? And they're not wrong. And so, some of the smaller hall guys were like, well, this is a slippery slope. But, suddenly you look at make up a name, Nick Markakis or Sinshu Chu, and be like, well, they had some pretty good careers, put them in, and they kind of had to step back and say, there's a line somewhere. To me, Utley's still getting some consideration in terms, for me, in terms of just kind of where, his impact on his defense was probably underrated, in my opinion, or through my eyes. I never thought of him as a great defensive player, but he seems to be getting some clout there. They mentioned something that no player with under 2,000 hits has been inducted or selected for the Hall of Fame in over 50 years, and so he wears that challenge as well. So they mentioned shifts from peak, from longevity to peak, and Utley kind of tailed out. Relatively soon. He's a physical player and not a lot of wear and tear, but had some good peak years. So I'm on the fence on him. I'm not saying I won't switch eventually, but not at the moment. He's out. But you bring up a good point about next year's ballot. It's not a very particularly deep pool, so it could be the two that Tubbs mentioned.
He seems more like a senior candidate to me. Somebody that kind of gets him based on the accolades of his contemporaries, the players he got, kind of played with, as opposed to being a guy that most people, when they went to a game or watched it, were like, well, this is a future Hall of Famer out there. It's, a good player, all-star player, number of times. But that's kind of where I come down on his career, in my opinion, where I thought his due would come.
Well, every now and then there's a jump or a plummet that shocks the hell out of me. This might be my most shocking one ever. Andy Pettitte got to 48.5%. I wrote in my preview that he would have, the only chance he had is if he made some significant jump. But I wasn't going to count on it. And here it happened. He jumped from 27.9%. And what's changed? I mean, he's still a guy who admitted PED use. However, he was never suspended for it. So, I've said over and over and over again, I'll say it one more time, if you're going to get popped for this, for anything, you handle it the way Andy Pettitte did. You own it, you get right in front of it, and you don't labor the issue. Did he sell out Roger Clemens? If everyone knows he did it, does it really matter? So I'm going to say, like, yeah, maybe. But I can't understand, I can't make heads or tails of this unless it's just people saying, you know what, I got to vote for somebody, or I just don't want to vote for only 2 or 3 people. You know what, I'm going to throw Pettitte a bone. He's on year 8. And maybe a lot of people came up with that. But this I did not see. I had to look at over and over again to make sure I was seeing this correctly.
96 vote jump from last year. I mean, that's a lot.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, nothing changed. There was no news from him that happened since last ballot. I think this is just you chalk it up to, as you described, I don't want to just put 2 people down on my ballot, so I'm going to make, put 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, and he seems to be the next likeliest guy based on number of years on the ballot and postseason. Postseason is really kind of his calling card, more so than his regular season. He had a great career regular season, but in the postseason is where he made his name.
Yeah, something a full season worth of starts, most wins in postseason history, of course, playing on a decade of teams, and then switching to the Astros, and they had a couple runs as well. It'll be interesting to see. I felt like we saw a lot of jumps, the 10, 20%, the Felix Hernandez's and some of those guys, not Omar Vizquel. So it'll be interesting because it'll be a pretty light ballot. So, did they squeeze all the juice out of the lemons they could with this? And there's not going to be a bunch of people, these were people that are 10 vote guys that had the Sheffields and some of those other guys on there that cleared out. It'll be interesting to see. So I wouldn't be surprised if Utley doesn't have that same jump that he had this year. Same with Pettitte. I just don't see all the, if you're going to vote the way you did in Clemens and Bonds and those guys are getting about 65%, again, about 2/3, but it takes 3/4. I don't see 3/4 getting behind Pettitte all of a sudden. Like you said, nothing really changed. And I have to throw in my favorite Buster Posey. He's Maurer with power. So I think he'll get in. I think he will get in on the first because of a little bit of a lackluster ballot, and then 50-50 on Utley. It'd be really interesting to see how some of the preliminary ballots. I didn't see Andruw Jones making that big of a jump this year. I thought it would be next year on the last ballot, but he did. I mean, he's, again, nothing changed, but that's why you have a 10-year plan.
Looking back at Pettitte here again, so like I said, he made the 96 vote jump this year. Even if he matches that next year, it doesn't get him across the line. But his 10th ballot, then he's going to be up against guys like Albert Pujols and Yadi Molina, and possibly like a David Price and a Robinson Cano, depending on where they fall on his career. So next year may be his best last chance, given some of the names that come in 2 years.
Also, too, it's not really a pitcher-heavy ballot right now, which doesn't hurt him either. Which, it's interesting because we compare him then to the next person, King Felix Hernández, ballot to 46.1. He jumped 25%. And, this is one of those cases where Pettitte, like both of you were saying, Pettitte with win after win after win in the postseason. We talk about all those great Yankee squads, but Pettitte was a big component of that. And maybe because he's also so unassuming, sometimes you forget about him. He wasn't that guy who sort of craved the attention, even though he was there for a long time. Felix Hernández just oozed charisma, and he's a guy with half the wins. He's the guy who won. He was the first to me. And I think that sort of proved sabermetrics was really how a lot of people were voting. Because I cannot fathom when we were all younger and collecting baseball cards for the first time, if you would have told us that a guy with 13 and 12 won a Cy Young easily, we said that's insane. But we evolve, we learn. Hernandez, for me, if he gets in, I can't wait for them to look at somebody else who was the victim of bad ballots for him, Johan Santana.
Mm-hmm.
So Felix, I think, is going to jump Pettitte. It wouldn't shock me if somehow Felix went from 46.1 all the way. because he's got I think he's gonna look better than Lester, who's coming on the ballot, in my opinion.
Yeah, you look at him and Cole Hamels, they almost identical stats: wins, losses, ERA, strikeouts across the board. One discerning factor could be Cole Hamels, World Series and LCS MVP. Felix Hernandez never had the chance. So you also have to look at some of the offenses, like you said. Andy Pettitte was never a guy that you would say, oh, he's going to go out in game, 2, 3, 6, or 7, and pitch a 3-hit shutout like a guy like Pedro Martinez or Roger Clemens could. But he'd keep you in the game, give up his 2 or 3 runs, let the Bronx Bombers carry him to victory. And that's what all that team needed, was to get to the 7th or 8th inning, get a John Wetland or a Mariano Rivera out there to shut him down. And so job well done, Andy Pettitte, Hall of Famer, probably not. I do think Felix is on the trajectory now after this jump. I was a little concerned. Cole Hamels, only first year guy that even that's going to make the second ballot.
Well, let's talk about him now. So
they're kind of one and the same. Also, he's a guy on my watch list. So he was probably in this, not the person I vote for, but not in the, I'm probably never going to vote for this guy, like a Torrey Hunter or Mark Burley or Omar Vizquel, some of the guys that I'm just like, that's just not happening. So Hamels is on my watch list. I need to see how the starting pitchers shake out. I think a lot of people were surprised when Sabathia was first ballot. It's kind of like, well, he's good, great at times, but first ballot as compared to some other guys.
So 23.8 for Hamels. That's a good start.
Yeah.
I mean, before that used to be a terrible start. This is a great start.
I look back, it's essentially the same start that Felix Hernandez had last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, my comparison here, the first guy that kind of popped in my mind with Felix Hernandez, it was another guy who was on a ballot, but it's a different ballot this past election cycle, and that's Fernando Valenzuela.
Mm.
So, Fernando and Felix both had, very similar careers, both, 6 All-Stars, both had a Cy Young Award. Fernando won a couple of championships, a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger, which, take it for what it's worth as a pitcher. Hernandez did get to bat, more wins, more innings pitched, lighter on the strikeouts. ERA is very comparable. And you just see that Fernando got no traction back then. And I look at I'm still kind of what I grew up with kind of mentality first, and that's with the starting pitcher, 300 wins is kind of always a benchmark. I know it's not anymore, but 169 wins for Felix Hernandez. And now we're talking about him possibly being a 3rd or 4th ballot Hall of Famer. It just seems like, I know the game's changed, but that just seems off to me for some reason. So I'm still got to kind of wrap my head around that, what his career and how it's generating the votes that it is.
I think just the way starting pitching has changed. I mean, I think we all hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're all sort of older. I will not do a standing ovation for a guy who sort of leaves in the 5th inning after he gave up 3 runs. Okay, well, we got the lead, but we're up 4-3. Let's give him the no, but unless it's sort of like a super veteran and great with a great story, or a rookie, it's something like that. Maybe I would, but that's how it is. That's how it's changed. And he was the symbol of a lot of that. I can wrap my head around wins not meaning what they used to, but I know a dominant pitcher when I saw it, and Felix was that guy. There was the wins aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't gonna be for anybody on those Mariners.
He did win back by a huge offense.
Yeah, those Mariners teams were not exactly world beaters that he was playing on.
Yeah, so I mean, again, also too, as we're looking for next year, it's going to be a lot easier. And I think there might even be 3. Maybe that's why Felix could make that crazy jump, because now there's 2 people off the ballot, and there's going to be a 3rd with Manny Ramirez, with only really Posey and maybe Lester that's going to take up some of those votes. So if you're a voter and presumably some of them are, who are always going to vote for 10, Because maybe you're thinking you got to counter the assholes who vote for zero.
That was brought up today on the pregame show. I was like, well, I vote for 10 because I know that guy on the other side of the, in the other
Right,
stool is
yeah.
only going to vote for 2.
Yeah, and that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So this is going to make next year's ballot is going to be weaker than this one. And I feel awful saying that because these are all quality players. Even the players that got no votes, they are quality players. I think one time at some point I'm going to try to put together my all zero vote team.
That'd be fun.
And see see if maybe, if I go year by year, some of those might have been playoff teams. I don't know.
Yeah, I see. You may get a championship out of those teams.
It's very possible. And then they get a championship, and now they get reevaluated. And then, speaking of Manny, Alex and Manny, nothing changed. They went marginally up. Manny's gone. That's what they wanted. He's done. What we saw with Bonds and Clemens, not even getting enough votes on the veterans to even get a number assigned. What chance does Manny Ramirez have? I don't even see if they want to even bother putting him on the ballot. What for?
Well, I think you put him on the ballot so that you can do what they did last year and get him off the ballot, so that the question's answered. It's not hanging out there like when is it gonna be? When we did the senior ballot, when we talked about that, that was kind of one of the thoughts, was that these guys are there. The panel was designed the way it was to elicit that response. So I would not be surprised if that's kind of the end goal here with the ever popular Rob Manfred, to try to get the Hall of Fame to get this off, get these guys off the ballot permanently, so that the question never has to be asked again.
Yeah, the debate on the shows is just getting exhausting and repetitive, and dragging down a discussion of other good players. They're all good players. Chase Utley, Jeremy Rollins, some of those guys that Bobby Abreu, who I'm an advocate for, that
Bobby
presumably did it all well. We don't know. Maybe Utley was juicing too, but
which is probably why some people still put in zero ballots.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's much to talk about with A-Rod. It's all been said. No one's got a better resume than he does. And he's not moving. He can wrap his arms around Derek Jeter all he wants. He could date J-Lo for a third time. It's not making a difference. He's not going anywhere. They've spoken. I think a lot of people on that think the way I do, and some who think the way that Dave does. You're caught. You do it, period. You're done. The people who think like me, okay, you did it after 2004 when baseball agreed, your labor union, forget it. I don't see how anything can change, no matter how much Fox puts him on my TV.
Yep.
It just doesn't. And it's a shame, because he would have been a Hall of Famer without it. He was just that good. My God. But let's go to Abreu, who we've already talked about. I think we're all super high on Bobby Abreu, and he had a nice jump. On ballot 7, he went from 19.5 to 30.8. Not bad, considering he was barely hanging on for those first 2 years. I love Abreu. I just love everything about this, the way he plays. I love watching him bat. Always felt like a clinic. And one of those things where I could go to the bathroom, come back, he'd still be at bat.
Yeah. Yeah. When I talk about him, the things, the stats all add up: the OPS, the walks, the stolen bases, 8 seasons of 100 RBIs, 400 career stolen bases, but never finished in the top 10 MVP. So that's, something you kind of look at. It's like, well, he just was, good, but not great. Played for a lot of different teams. I mean, kind of mostly associated with the Phillies, but he didn't have that one team that you said, oh, he represented that team and was in the middle of their lineup. A little bit like Scott Rowland, who took a little while to get momentum. Same thing, kind of kicked around 4 or 5 years in each place. It's just not enough. Like, I think he needs to be more in the 50% range at this point. Be interesting, getting ahead on the veterans ballot, but he's on the line. I'm not going to say, wow, it's clear he should be in. He's that good. He's right there. Switch hitting helps. But so I vote for him, but I understand he's kind of right there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Dave said there. He played on some very good Phillies teams, but he left before they won their championship in 2008. He played on some very good Yankees teams, but never won a championship there. So maybe that, excuse me, maybe that comes in to play a little bit here with his overall. He doesn't have a championship trophy with his name there, but very solid player that is another one that I kind of came around to a little bit later in his eligibility here. I'm behind him. I hope he ends up getting there. I just don't think he's going to have enough time left here, even with the weak ballot, as we kind of projecting for next year. Maybe he's a guy that gets the Eras Committee or Veterans Committee love after his modern eligibility runs out. But I hope he gets there someday because I think he did enough to warrant the recognition.
Well, you mentioned that Phillies team. So we already mentioned Cole Hamels. Jimmy Rollins jumped up from 18% to 25.4 on ballot number 5, saying that I just don't see it for Rollins. Another Hall of Very Good. Has had a lot of hits, 2,455, Gold Gloves, a couple Silver Sluggers. It's good. It's a very good career, but I don't see it. I mean, like, I don't think he's even going to get to 40% in the next 5 years. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But
yeah. We're probably in the range now as you go down the ballot that I think we're past the part of people where they could actually get another 10%, 10%, 10% to they're going to get 3, 4, 5% no matter who's on the ballot. There's just not enough momentum. I got Rollins. My first 2 out would be Felix and Rollins. I like the MVP. I like the way he played. From Rollins as a leadoff hitter. He played on some really good teams. Was a leader, a good citizen of the game, so to speak. Played it the right way, did all the right things. But good all-star, but not. That's why he's just on my way out, but or just below my line of who I vote in.
Yeah, kind of with you there, Dave. Betting average, on base percentage, kind of low for a leadoff hitter, especially a speed type guy like he was. Did play the above average defense, a few Gold Gloves on his resume. Under 2,500 hits. Hall of Very Good seems right. The MVP was a big deal, but I just don't think there was enough there. And like I said, halfway through his eligibility here, and I don't see him having some kind of second half renaissance here. He is what he is, a very good player that is going to hang around the ballot here for 10 years and have nothing to look back on and be ashamed of.
Looking at some of the stats, he was only an all-star like twice, 3 times. Not even an all-star that was the MVP.
Yeah. Go figure. Yeah.
That happens a few times. Surprisingly how often that can happen.
Fans vote for the same 8 players every year.
Yeah, but even then though, how many players have that great second half of that? Yeah, it's I actually had to look. I bet you there's probably like at least 15. I don't know for sure, but I'll bet you there's quite a few that's happened. This one fascinates me. Dustin Pedroia, very, very popular, and now we've got the MVP. Injuries took him out of what probably would have been possibly one of the top 10 players in his position all time. It's possible, but it didn't happen. He did get those 2 World Series wins. He played all his entire career with one team. He did make a very significant jump. So I know we were saying like a lot of these people we're going to talk about are probably not going to ever make it that far. I think we're wrong in Pedroia though. Pedroia has a lot of that likability factor. I think there's a bit of that what if. And again, that MVP plus the World Series, plus the fact that seems like a real good guy who played the game the right way on a ballot that is this week and that week. If he just keeps building, and then he could get grandfathered in on some ballots when it gets stronger, potentially.
Sure. Second ballot. So as you mentioned, 40s, 48, 41 point jump, 47 point jump, something like that. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it nearly doubled what he had previously. So next year, I could see him definitely making a jump, but I just wonder if he stalls out in kind of those middle eligibility years because of some other players that kind of roll on the ballot here. But easily a Hall of Very Good player for me. I don't know if he earned my vote if I had a ballot, but I don't have anything bad to say about him. I just don't know that his career kind of adds up to what we'd expect from a Hall of Famer here.
Yeah, looking at it seems like a lot of players jumped about 10%. So if you want to peg that on the kind of the weaker top end of the ballot and PED guys rolling off. So it'll be interesting to see for him and others. What he went from 10% to 20%. Whether he goes from 20%, he probably needs to at least go to 30 or 40 by the middle. He played in a big market. I posted some things on my Twitter that the Boston Globe writers loved him. 6 out of 7. But that's just a limited market. Just not a lot of it.
On a national market too, because
they were good teams, and he was a leader on the teams. Him and Ortiz. But I don't think. I think he's just not going to get the momentum behind him.
Okay. Mark Burley had another nice jump. He got to 20% on year 6. Saying that, I mean, like, if he's your ace, you think, okay, that's all right. I'd rather have him as my number 2. That's how I always look at Mark Burley. Like, if he's my number 2 guy, okay, I got a pretty good ace. But Burley's another guy. You love the way that he played. It's just not enough there. And I think, again, weak ballot helped him, like it did for David. I'm just going to go through these unless we want to jump in with anything big. David Wright jumped from, what was it? I think he doubled to 14.8. K-Rod, Francisco Rodriguez, is treading water at 11.8. And here's one I can't figure out. Torrey Hunter, I love this guy. 6 years on the ballot and has never gotten double digits yet. I haven't looked to see if that's a first, but it's got to be rare company.
He has about 35 loyal voters at this point.
Right. Flag saluting, march behind him, voters. Yeah. He had some great tools, fun player to watch play.
Yeah, another guy, middle of the field defender that was an exciting player to watch on defense as much as offense, because he could really run those down in the alleys out there. He's one of the guys actually that I've really kind of came around on a little younger in his eligibility, and would have been throwing votes his way most of his years so far. But you're right. I mean, it is very odd for somebody to just kind of hang around at that, the last one that keeps making the cut, so to speak. Year after year.
Literally almost the last one every year. 5.1% last year, made the even, a third of the jump that some of the Burleys and guys made. So yeah, well said, Chris. A lot of people are just behind him. At least one voter said he changed his vote for him this year because he didn't want to see him go off the ballot after he was so close last year. He's like, well, I had room, so I threw him on there. I'm not even saying like he's better than players I didn't vote for, but I think he belongs on the ballot. So he's, his plaque will say on the ballot 10 years and then, move on.
Yeah.
The guys who did not make it is Ryan. I think you're anti-Semitic because if I flunked a test, Braun. God damn.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Enough said on him.
Yep, 3.5%. Edwin Encarnacion, a couple good, nice years in Toronto. 1.4% on his only ballot since Choo Choo, who we talked about. Matt Kemp. Matt, for a brief hot moment there, I thought he was going to be a superstar.
Dated a Kardashian. I mean, he had it all
Did he
going
date a
for him.
Kardashian? Which one?
Doesn't
They're
matter.
all the same, Kirk.
You know what, Matt? Okay, yes, it does matter because which one? Chloe. Wait a minute. Chloe when she was fat or Chloe now? Yeah. I mean, look what happened to Lamar Odom. Just saying. And at the same time, right?
Lost MVP to cheater Ryan Braun. So
that's
maybe
right.
that could have helped him out here if he had 2 instead of just 1.
We could have been talking about that had it not been for those damn Jews.
No, the anti-Jews.
Right.
Well, that's right. The anti-Jews. Wait a minute. No, I don't know. I just learned how to edit too. You think I'd actually edit this part out, but nah.
We know you better. I'll at least say, I mean, Everton Encarnacion, 424 home runs. That's right in line with Andruw Jones. Several points in batting average better than Andruw Jones. A couple of MVP top 15s. Played a long career. Postseason numbers don't stand out, but anyway, he's a good player. I wouldn't say the Hall of very good. I'd say the Hall of kind of better than good, but not quite very good.
He was sort of like that tier. If you're doing like an all decade, like he might have been like a third team, fourth team, all DH. Yeah, did some good stuff with Toronto. Hunter Pence, who had a nice career, Rick Porcello with 0.5, Alex Gordon 0.2, Nick Markakis 0.5. Was it 0.5 or 0.2?
0.2.
0.2, sorry. I think I wrote down 0.2, and I know that couldn't have been right.
You can just read off the quantity of votes at this point.
Yeah, 1 vote for Gordon, 1 vote for Markakis, 2 for Pence, Kemp, and Porcello.
And 3 decent players who didn't get a vote, but you make the ballot, you were damn good. And Howie Kendrick, Gio Gonzalez, and Daniel Murphy.
I think at least one person get confused and think they're voting for Dale Murphy.
Daniel Murphy, though, he for a couple years, though, he was really good. But yeah, so that's what we've got. Looking forward, as we said, it's going to get a lot easier. We are going to see, I think some of these guys are going to have we're going to see another Pettitte type jump. I don't know from who. I don't think it's from Pettitte again. I don't think there's going to be 20% of the voters who are just going to change their mind on him. But I think more people might.
I think that juice is squeezed. I'll go the opposite. I think that all the people that ran out of ballot room have plenty of room this time, and that's about all you're going to see. There's not going to be people that had ballot room.
No, but I think there's more ballot room though now.
With the 2 guys in plus Manny, yeah. I mean, it wasn't a huge class last year either, so we'll see. I'm very surprised that some people jumped to 10%. That especially you see that kind of when you get to the 50-60% range, but at the 10, 15, 20%, you usually see them kind of hover, maybe up 2 or 3 points. But to see Burley go from 10 to 20, from Pedroia from 10 to 20, it was a little bit of a surprise.
Well, that was our main event. We want to look back at the weekend that was in football. First off, congratulations to Indiana for winning their first ever national championship. Very impressive. They were the best team from the start. They weren't ranked the top, but that's just how that works. You don't know how it's going to go. So you got to fight for that. You got to fight for that number 1 spot. Once they got it, they said it's mine. You're not taking it from me. We got a pretty good idea who likely the number 1 pick's going to be. And Pete Carroll won't be there to mess that up.
Yeah, it's got to be a nice situation for their next coach to be walking into there. To know you're going to get a franchise quarterback with your first overall pick.
And congrats.
His maturity and accuracy just were, the decision making. He doesn't throw it in peril like some current NFL quarterbacks we'll talk about in a minute. And that run play he made on a really good call showed his toughness. He was beat up. His arms were all scraped up. He got a bloody lip. He did all the things. And it wasn't, throwing to 4 NFL prospect receivers either. They had some good receivers. Doesn't have an NFL prospect running back, that I'm aware of. I haven't looked at the stats, Black, but anyway, it was a great story and great finish to the season. The right, I say the right team won. I didn't have a pick in it, but the team that played the best, they beat Oregon twice, beat Ohio State, beat Miami, beat whoever else showed up. So it was a good game. It came down to the end, and Miami still had a chance, and Indiana's defense stepped up.
And congrats to Miami. It was for a team that a lot of people said shouldn't have been in the playoffs. They went right down to the wire.
Yeah.
All I can say is Notre Dame would have won. At the end of the day.
Based upon their loss to Miami in the regular season, I don't see how the cumulative property of victories works in that scenario.
I don't know why Notre Dame just doesn't get a bye right to the finals at the end.
Whoever wins just plays Notre Dame, and it's
that's how it should be. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would think
everybody else is playing for second place.
God, I was watching the Africa Cup. Was Morocco versus Senegal, and it sort of felt like that's how they wanted it to be. And Senegal pulled that one off. Which no one else here watched that? Okay.
Take your word for it.
Yeah. Congratulations to Senegal. It's pretty cool. A little tiny country.
It's great. I couldn't point where they are on a map, but
Western Africa.
Which is on me, not on them. Just the typical American.
To be fair, though, Senegal is very, very small. It would be very, very hard. I'm pretty sure I know where it is, but if it was just like the outline of Africa, I'm not sure that I'd get it right.
You just right. Which is all the more impressive, their soccer victory with such a small land base.
It absolutely is. And they've been a very good team in Africa for a long, long time. And congrats to them for basically fighting through an awful lot of bad calls.
Yeah, I was right. You're in Western Africa.
There you go. Should we play a game? What do Americans know regarding geography?
No. Next subject, Kirk.
Next subject. Well, the next subject is we have a Final Four for the next Super Bowl, and I don't think there's been a whole lot of surprises as to who is here. We've got just because I'm right here. Seattle will be hosting the Los Angeles Rams. I kind of thought, and I think we all, although none of us said it, but I don't think it surprises any one of us that it's going to be decided by the NFC West. That division has been so packed. We talked about 2 months ago, like maybe the Rams were going to be the team that was going to like push through and be the top one. And then Seattle said, no, it's going to be us. Seattle has been incredible. They're firing on all cylinders. They did lose Zach Charbonnet for the season.
Yeah, they lost one big cylinder.
Yes, they did lose that, but they've sort of run on a two-back system. So
yeah,
I think they can weather that. It's going to be electric here in the city. I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I can't afford it. I can't afford it, but if I do afford it, then I can't afford to do much else.
Yeah.
If I wanted to go spend $1,500 for one ticket, which I'm not going to do.
Don't worry about rent. Somebody will cover that for you. It's the Seattle.
My wife's covering a lot of things for me, but
that's a little much to ask.
Yeah, the trophy husband thing only goes as far. It does have a limit. Be one thing maybe if I was better looking in 6 feet as opposed to 5'8" and built like a trapezoid. But there is what there is. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think I'm just going to hang around Lumen Field at some of the bars there and just sort of like soak that atmosphere up and see what happens. As for a prediction, I think Seattle's just been so good. They've earned home field. I think they're going to take it. If Matthew Stafford does bring them to a second Super Bowl, regardless of whether they win or not, that jump to Hall of Fame talk has to skyrocket, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, I look for it to be a good game. When you in the West, the 49ers were right there. What with a win in the last game, they could have had home field. And then And then the Kittle injury, and then Trent Williams being not 100% and playing, as much as he could. And then the linebacker that got hurt, early in the year. Yeah, Fred Warner. But so that was a stacked division. Yeah, it's 1-2 on one side, and it was almost 1-2, but an overtime, game that Caleb Williams couldn't pull out. That was a little bit of a softer Bears team than their record would indicate. So nobody's surprised that the 5 seeds are dangerous because they're usually like a runner-up in a tiebreak situation to some 1 seed. The Texans were right there, who we'll talk about maybe in a minute. But yeah, I'd probably lean Seahawks. I keep doubting Sam Darnold, but he keeps delivering. And he's got Jackson Smith and Jibba, and a good running back, a good line, and an outstanding defense. That game was the least. That was such a blowout. It wasn't even fair. It was like the New Orleans Saints could have done better than the Niners did.
The Niners, I think, finally, you take all these body blows all year.
Yeah.
What they were able to accomplish, considering injury after injury after injury after injury,
and an opt out from a wide receiver that didn't even play this year.
That's right. Yes. It's so easy to forget about him because he wasn't there. And they just next man up.
Yeah. McCaffrey and Purdy played great, and they carried that.
Yeah. That team. They did what they did more with the engine or with the gas tank on E than I've ever seen any other team do. But yeah, they just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
It was just left. And honestly, like, hats off to the Niners on that one. On the other side, Dave, I got to ask you, you're big Texans fan. I don't like dumping on your guy, on your quarterback, but I'm going to have to. CJ Stroud was awful. I have never seen a better defense paired up with the most ineffective quarterback. Passer rating of under 30, 4 interceptions. I don't know how someone could just do a meme of CJ Stroud face, like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
He's fallen off so much from that rookie of the year when he looked lost. This is not the progression you expect from a quarterback that talented, or maybe he wasn't. What are they saying?
Yeah. I'm still behind. I'm still behind him only for a couple of reasons. One is I've seen the talent. I've seen him have that edge where this rookie season, he was bringing us back, 2-minute drives before halftime, before the end of the game. Big win over Tampa Bay his rookie year. And there's spots this year. A couple of factors were, in the plays that you saw were awful. He was either trying to do too much, felt like he had to do too much. Credit to the Patriots defense. They were swarming. He was under pressure the whole time. We had a makeshift offensive line, had 2 guys that were, one guy was out for sure. One guy was ruled out right before. They moved the guard to the tackle to the guard. Absolutely no running game whatsoever, we just ran it right down the Steelers' throats. We gave it to Woody Marks, and he was getting 6, 7, 8 yards. And I was like, this is going to be easy money, all day. If Woody Marks he was getting, 1, 2, he get a 3-yard gain and be like, well, they're actually not totally behind the chain. So no running game whatsoever. Nico Collins was out. They lost Schultz, the tight end, in the first half. He had 1 big catch, and then that was it. So he either was trying to do too much or not. They got some work to do on the talent end on the offensive line. So I still believe if you put the right talent around him, he can do well. I think he's a guy that needs that. We just talked about Sam Darnold was, floundered around without talent around him. Put a little talent around him, get him a line, get him a couple receivers. If Nico Collins had been healthy, that would have been a safety valve. Inexcusable throws, 1 or 2 in particular. Were just, you can't make those in a playoff game. And he was bad the week before, even against the Steelers, which wasn't a super powerful defense. And we were dominating in the running game. And we had Nico Collins for most of that game, and Dalton Schultz. He still was shaky with the ball, fumbles, weird stuff. He's only in year 3. And I pointed out, I think he's either exactly 1 year older than Carson Beck that just played the national championship game, and Fernando Mendoza isn't far behind. So I'm still believing he's our guy. I've lived through a lot of Texans years that we had no guy at all, So I'm like, please don't go back, to the days where Brock Osweiler was our guy.
The dust off Sage Rosenfels.
Rosencopter, yeah, Sage
Rosencopter, is that what
Rosenfels.
you guys called him?
Remember that play against the Colts? He spun around. Anyway, trust me, we hadn't forgotten that play. I'll message you guys later.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yep.
That must have been ESPN Ocho.
I mean, and then we had Watson, who was a great. Deshaun Watson was a great player until certain indiscretions. But so we've lived through the quarterback torture. So I'm still behind CJ Stroud. I think he's the guy. The backup is decent, but not a guy that's going to step in. He could have done better that particular game, maybe, but again, under pressure, a couple of Stroud throws were because he panicked with the guy blowing him up. But disappointing. But the Patriots also played a great game. Their defense was swarming. They were always in position. Nobody was open. They shut down the running game. Nobody's open. Rushed the quarterback, and they got the result that they needed from Vrabel.
Yeah, that team's really bought into Mike Vrabel and what he's selling there. Players coach in every sense of the word. Out there headbutting the players after good plays and breaking up fights in preseason. It's just a couple of things I remember from him when he first took over. Obviously, dipping a little bit back over to the NFC. I think when we did our preseason picks, I'm pretty sure I had the Rams to the Super Bowl, so I'm going to kind of stick on that train here. I know it's obviously tough going into Seattle and winning up there, but they obviously know each other very well, being division opponents, and I think that kind of you get those division games that really kind of throws a monkey in the wrench there. So it'll be a fun game to watch. That's kind of where I'm leaning on that one there. And New England, it's tough to not want to pull for the upset of the century with Denver coming in there after having lost their starting quarterback on one of the final plays of an overtime game to get there. But I just don't see them having enough juice there to really put up enough of a fight to make it a last. Whoever's holding the ball last kind of situation or anything like that. So we'll see how it goes. Stranger things have happened, but I think if I'm kind of making my prognostication here, I'm looking Rams, Patriots for third time. Third time's a charm.
Third time, yeah.
So
and I would I'd go the Patriots too. Drake May, MVP candidate. You click on the box score of that game, which I did to do the Sportsman of the Week, and again, CJ Stroud was the leading passer of that game yards wise. That's how little that the Patriots needed from Drake May.
Did they count the pick six into that?
Yeah, that they didn't subtract the yards. I'll put it that way. But both quarterbacks, had about 100 blah yards, and I will say back to the Patriots. God, their three of their four touchdown receptions were just ridiculous. Fingertip just out of reach of a defender. Drake May put it just in a particular spot. One of the plays, the Patriots guy was like this. I think it was Cooks. And another play on the fourth down play, it was they actually got a piece of the ball. It went into the guy and he went in. It was the defense stepped up for the Texans despite those 3 touchdowns. But I love Drake May. I think the Patriots win that, as Chris said, something on the order of 28-10 or 28-13.
Boy, imagine having the first overall pick his draft year and passing on him.
Yeah.
What a shit show that organization is.
Well, I think we're all sort of assuming, I think I am too, that New England's going to walk all over Denver because Bo Nix is not there. Got injured on, I believe, they said it was the second to last play, but it was actually the fourth to last play. Ron corrected me on that one. Jared Stidham, we'll see what he's got. We'll see what Sean Payton can do. If anyone can sort of get something out of him, it's Sean Payton. Before we sort of predict that game, I think we're all predicting New England though. I want to look back at Buffalo, who just, it's a shame that they lost again. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the Buffalo Bills, just having grown up in the proximity of Buffalo on the Ontario side and having gone to many a Bills game in my life. Buffalo is just that city. They bleed sports. They need that win. It's not like you're in Texas and you got the warmth. Buffalo had to invent, hey, we're the chicken wing capital of the world. Is it better? Are their chicken wings better there in Buffalo than any other place? I can tell you that they're not.
But for the capital.
I guess you got to come up with something. So why the hell not?
I absolutely do not have any sympathy for Buffalo because of the Houston Oilers days.
Fair enough. But what am I wrong here? Sean McDermott firing, I did not see that coming at all.
Chris has a thought.
Yeah, so after the first, Black Monday or whatever round there, and Harbaugh was let go, there was rumblings that depending on what happens with Buffalo and Green Bay, he could be somebody that ends up in one of those two locations. So that was the first time I kind of heard something where McDermott could be on a little bit of a hot seat here. They've had a lot of playoff success, but ultimately playoff failure at the end of the day, playoff failure. They haven't made it to or, won a Super Bowl. So at a certain point, you kind of got to look at things and say, have we peaked here with who we have? And maybe that's the case there. Maybe there was some other behind the scenes words that were spoken that shouldn't have been. According to the Buffalo Bills, he did a very admirable job with the team. So,
unless you're out, you never say this guy is shit.
Well, no, if you saw that or not, they misspelled admirable in their press release.
No, I didn't see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, they said he did admiral, as in the naval rank.
Yeah.
So a graduate of the Quality Leering Center.
100%.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see it coming either. You look at him and Harbaugh, Tomlin. There was rumors that the LaFleur wasn't going to be back. It's almost, if the second round's just not good enough for teams that are consistently there. And good luck to them to find. Every now and then you find a diamond in the rough. You get a new coach in there, but usually it's the grass isn't always greener. Luckily for me, if Buffalo fails miserably, I will cackle endlessly.
They're in Buffalo. You Buffalo. Okay, I grew up. For those unaware geographically, which would be apparently Americans.
Yeah, right.
But
I knew where Senegal was, basically.
Okay, my bad.
You're the right continent. That's about it.
To be fair, I did
Western
say Africa Cup, so you got the wrong continent.
Yeah. I mean, aren't you Argonauts fans? I mean, what Buffalo? That doesn't make any sense.
In Toronto, actually, no. I grew up closer to Hamilton, so my uncles were Hamilton fans.
Bulldogs?
Yeah.
Tiger Cats. Tiger Cats.
Yeah. Oski wee wee, Oski Wawa. Don't ask me what the fuck that
is. Is that on Prince Edward Island or Newfoundland? I'm losing
Oski wee wee or Oski Wawa.
Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton. No, it's right on Lake Ontario.
Oh. Do they speak French there? Some.
Mon français n'est pas bon, but you know.
Poutine.
Hey, my grandpa on my Quebec side was a lumberjack. Yeah, I'm a grandson of a Quebec lumberjack. There you go. A bit of blackjack shellac in me, huh? That sounded even worse when I said that.
Yeah, no, you're not making it better.
No, but anyway, no, it's on Lake Ontario, and Lake Ontario has got the lake effect snow. So Toronto and Buffalo, and I'm in a town called Burlington, which is right in between Toronto and Hamilton. So
that's in Vermont, right?
No, it's the real Burlington. We're 3 times the population.
Oh,
Burlington's about 20 miles, 15 miles south of me here.
Yeah.
Okay, what is this, Springfield gag? And we have to guess what state it's in?
Burlington Coat Factory. Yeah.
You know what? Here's a goal. If I become a public figure again, I think Wikipedia should just say famous people from Burlington, and I should be on it. But it probably won't happen. But anyway, the people who created Toronto knew, you know what? Here we got this. If we're going to be on a lake, we're going to get some waterways and some trade and whatnot. We're going to at least pick the place where it's got the least amount of snow. The people in Buffalo, let's just get the worst amount of everything. I can't tell you how many times growing up as a kid, or even still when I would talk to my parents and when he was still alive. So like, I just saw Buffalo just got dumped with snow because I'd be watching football, and there's no snow here, and it's less than an hour drive around the same lake. They just need a break, is I guess what I'm trying to say. That's why they never
took 4 Super Bowl appearances. You botched them.
They did. God, I feel so bad for him. Going back to that though, I still think. Do you think it's more like the GM and just ownership just trying to build some kind of buffer? Because that's how it looks to me. Josh Allen, let's be blunt. I think he's been the best quarterback of the last 5 years. You might want to say Lamar Jackson. Some might say Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes has a lot more weapons than Josh Allen ever had. Josh Allen has never played with a Hall of Famer except for Von Miller. And that's when Von Miller was just coming in on pass rushing. That's it. Who is he really? He's had some decent weapons around him, but he's never had a Travis Kelce or anything like that. He's never had a top lineman. He's never had that killer defense either. And when he won that, I thought that was probably going to be the rare time in history where I could see where somebody wasn't first team all pro at their position, but deserved to be the MVP. Not this year, but last year with because he carried that.
Yeah.
Where is that team without Josh Allen? They are potentially 8 and 9 most of these years.
Yeah, at best, yeah. Without that quarterback, they'd be
so.
5, 6 wins.
I don't know. I don't like it. I've seen Brian Dable in consideration. Like what?
Yeah. And the pool ain't that deep, Kirk. Mike Tomlin's not walking through that door.
No, he's walking
not this year, anyways.
No, and I guess so. Unless there's any more final thoughts, I want to sort of like pay tribute to. Well, it's come to an end, Chris. It's not official, but I think Aaron Rodgers' career is over, and I just want you to sort of like give his eulogy. Oh, okay.
Yeah. He had a career.
Wow.
He threw a touchdown pass on his last throw. It was the Texans that caught it and ran it back.
He did. Had a missed tackle on his last play too.
And I mean, all kidding aside, obviously what he did with his career, if this is the end, is Hall of Fame without a doubt. My personal feelings aside, he obviously gave the state of Wisconsin and Packer fans a Super Bowl win, many years of stellar play, and maybe he needed to move on a little bit sooner than he did, but he still was producing at levels that most quarterbacks don't reach when he finally did move on. But there is we did our mock football Hall of Fame selection committee a couple weeks back, and the topic of the player where you just have to say their name, and that's really all the presentation you need to give. He kind of fits that category. There aren't many players that you could do that to. Most of our quarterbacks, but he's a one and done. When he does finally hang it up, and he can go off and have the rest of his life to indulge himself in his other adventures and likes. And best to him. Like I said, as a Packer fan, I have my issues with him. Character wise, I didn't think he was the leader that a quarterback needs to be. But at the end of the day, he did deliver at least one Super Bowl win that the state and the team wouldn't have otherwise. So best of luck if this is the end.
I kind of hope it is. I don't have that personal attachment that obviously you do. I was just setting you up because I just wanted to see what you do with it.
No.
But I do hope it's the end. Aaron, you got nothing left to prove. And I'm happy that you got to go out in a playoff game because that's what you deserved.
Yeah, you proved me wrong. When you talk about preseason predictions, my prediction was that the Steelers, Mike Tomlin's streak of not having a losing season would end this year. That didn't happen. So maybe he heard all these things and just, that was his own personal motivation this year.
I just believed in Mike. I didn't foresee that Baltimore was going to be this poor.
Injuries will do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's sort of like why the Harbaugh firing, like, really.
And the Bengals too. A lot of people expected more out of the Bengals in that division.
I don't know a quarterback that could perform behind that offensive line though.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland, we knew was going to be bad. Again, Myles Garrett, he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I hope it's worth it for staying on that team for the rest of your life. But
paycheck still cashing.
Yeah. What did I read? Who's he dating now? He's dating Chloe Kim, the snowboarder.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Your life's pretty good. So who the hell am I to judge your decisions? Clearly, you're doing just fine. Unless there's anything else, we'll just wrap it up. I guess there's nothing else. Okay.
Call it.
So thank you for everything that you all do by watching us here. Like, subscribe, all those other things. Check out everything else that we do in the Buchnerverse here at NotInHallOfFame.com. Lots of shows, lots of updates. The rock list is almost updated. We're working on that. I will now begin updating the baseball list. My God, like I don't have enough to do. If you're watching this and you got suckered in because you love the Baseball Hall of Fame, guess what? Dave's going to be a part of it, whether he likes it or not. Chris, you're going to be a part of it, whether you like it or not. There's going to be the mock Baseball Hall of Fame. That is coming, and we are going to act as if it began in, I don't know what year yet. I'm going to have to put together a steering committee. Dave, you're definitely on it because you've been on it a lot. We're going to get Tubbs on it. I haven't told him yet, but Tubbs, you're in this too. Chris, you're going to be part of all that. We got to figure out what year we're going to have that set up to begin. And it's going to be very, very different. We are going to see how it would change if it started a little bit earlier and if the Negro Leagues counted at the same time.
That's critical. Yeah, that would have been a lot different.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a hell of a lot different. We're also going to have, with the steering committee, vote on whether people can be on the ballot if they didn't make 10 years, because there's some pretty damn good players who didn't play 10 years, especially in the early days. And I'm going to be reaching out to some Negro League historians, see if I can get them to join. I'll admit that right now that is my weak spot. I'm hoping to change that as I'm learning more and more and more about sports history. Like I don't have enough to do, but that's what I love to do. So wherever you are, wherever you may be, make today count because it never comes again. Tally ho!
Good night.